How's it going, friends, and welcome. Today we're going on what is fundamentally a day trip. If you live in the Twin Cities, you could definitely do this trip in a day. I'm going to, and stopping to film also always just makes everything take a little bit longer, but it's fun. I enjoy doing it, and obviously love sharing things with y'all. We are starting in Red Wing, and we are basically making our way down to La Crescent, which is a bit further south than Winona. And then from there, we're going over to a town called Lanesboro. And we're taking you along the whole way, gonna just show you what a beautiful ride it is. I actually completely failed attempting this road trip 1 week ago today. We were in really like peak fall colors, and I just wanted so badly to make it happen on the motorcycle that I just said, okay, I'm gonna do it. And I didn't plan well enough for how cold it got. Honestly, a little bit embarrassing to just be so sure and just not take a few extra steps to make sure that I'd be a little bit warm. But I'll tell you more about that as it goes, because it was a pretty miserable miserable experience and just a pretty big fail. So starting in Red Wing, home of Red Wing boots, Red Wing shoes, by the way, the true home. So if you're not from Minnesota, that is where they are from. It's actually kind of a strange point of pride of, I think maybe a lot of Minnesotans, but it's so fascinating to have gone places around the planet, to be in Amsterdam or to be in Paris and Norway, to see Red Wing boots at some of like the most high-end kind of like menswear, workwear kind of places. To see Red Wing boots is pretty cool. There's a few other places, a few other manufacturers in Minnesota that you'll see on a national level, but there's not that many. So Red Wing really is the jumping off point for today. The drive from St. Paul to Red Wing is actually really quite lovely for a lot of it as well, especially once you get off the main highways. But let's get going. Let me show you. Red Wing is probably maybe top of the list of dream gets for this channel. Companies, brands that I would love to feature in the Making Minnesota. But I think it's a pretty big get, Someday I'll at least go there and buy some shoes. About an hour south of Red Wing is a small town called Lake City. It's right on Lake Pepin, which is basically still part of the Mississippi River, but it's like laked up right here. Dammed, I suppose, is probably a more accurate way of saying it, to create a lake and sort of a usable, boatable lake. There's a marina in Lake City, really, really cute little downtown area. Stopped at a place called Rustic Coffee. Saw they have a little patio. Obviously they have coffee. May I recommend crispy iced latte, but that's just what I get everywhere I go, even if it's not good, but it is good here. They have crazy pastries. I don't eat pastries, so can't tell you what that's like, but they look very, very good, as well as little sandwiches and stuff. So yeah, cute spot. Okay, we have officially made it to La Crescent, and right around here is where my trip last week just started to absolutely fall to pieces. So La Crescent is a pretty small town right across the river from La Crosse, Wisconsin, La Crosse being a slightly more established, sizable spot. But so La Crescent is very much like the beginning of really the main part of the scenic drive that I'm after, right? Which is kind of crazy. So far today, I've been at it for about 5 hours or so. It's about 4 p.m., sun setting somewhere around 6 p.m. A week ago, I'm making pretty good time right now. A week ago, it was not looking this good. I had multiple stops along the way where I had to stop and take phone calls, and pretty lengthy phone calls, because frankly, I had clients that I needed help, right? I had real estate sellers who were in the midst of a negotiation, so I had to pull over. Luckily, I got to pull over at some beautiful spots, but had to pull over quite a bit and have some really long conversations, and that set me behind really, really badly. I also even had a later start a week ago than I did today. So all those things kind of piled up. And by the time I got to La Crescent, not only was I running out of daylight very quickly, but I was absolutely freezing my butt off. And so right here in La Crescent is really where I truly started to doubt what I was going to do. Was I going to just get a hotel in La Crescent just to warm up and not even worry about my end destination, or was I going to push through and make it to Lanesboro? Lanesboro was the end destination, but really the spot that I was after is right down here. It's a scenic byway. It's a road, a beautiful road called the Apple Blossom Scenic Byway. And I was so close. This is what I was here to do. So I kept going. one of my favorite things about this ride so far, basically from St. Paul down to Red Wing, then Red Wing down to the Crescent, is just how many cool classic cars there are, and also more modern, you know, kind of peacocking cars, as well as a ton of motorcycles. And you know, we're at the end of motorcycle season in Minnesota right now, so you can tell there's kind of people who are getting their last ride in, or you know, one of their last couple rides in, while the weather will kind of still permit. So this is pretty much within the first, you know, half mile or so of this Apple Blossom Scenic Byway, and it's looking pretty cool, so we should probably get after it. Come on, buddy. By this time on my motorcycle ride last week, I was ice cold. I basically had been shivering so bad that I like was losing control of things. At some point on the way, I came within probably 5 feet of hitting a buck, a deer with antlers. I don't know if you can hear that, but I think that's the sound of an eagle. But I think that's actually the fake sound of an eagle, so I think it's a hawk, but maybe you'll hear it again in the distance. This is getting to proper driftless vibe. We'll talk more about the driftless area on this channel. We'll go there. We'll kind of, we'll show that off quite a bit, I think, eventually. But this has been a beautiful ride. We are losing daylight rapidly, but it's still so lovely. And this, whatever, Bluff's historic, scenic, byway, whatever it was, historic Bluff country, there it is. It is a lovely road to drive on. And the Apple Blossom Road, also beautiful, although I will say, I think I was on that for less time than I'm on this road. Yeah, all right, we'll keep going. So the stop right before Lanesboro on this trip, and basically second to last stop of anything I'm intending to do, is Houston, Minnesota. It's spelled just like Houston, but for some reason in the back of my head, it's rolling around in there that you pronounce it Houston. It's a very small town, so I could be literally so wrong about this, but it's a small kind of like agricultural town. And then, yeah, I will say there's also a couple things that I got wrong that I got wrong a week ago, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna do this Apple Blossom Scenic Trail, and I'm gonna take that all the way to Lanesboro. That doesn't go all the way to Lanesboro. It basically more or less connects with, I'm sure there's some road in between, some road that we've just been on that is neither one of these, but it connects to, I think, historic Bluff country scenic byway. And obviously the sun is setting. I'm getting into blue hour. I think there's the last little kiss of golden hour happening right now, but not really even. So we're gonna get back in. we're gonna finish this up because even on my second attempt, I'm struggling to make this happen. Well, I managed to make it here with still just a little bit of daylight. It's still a little bit of blue hour, which is just so much better than my last trip. I was freezing when I got to the hotel, which, by the way, I stayed at, I think it's just called Lanesboro Hotel. Super cool, historic hotel, sort of been converted to, and it's all like self-check-in. It's on Airbnb. It's definitely worth a look. I will put a link in the description to that just because I was so grateful to have a warm place to stay at the end of my trip that I think it's worth a shout out. Lanesboro is super cute, but when I got here, first of all, it's warmer out today than it was a week ago, and I'm not on a motorcycle, so I'm just infinitely warmer right now. I was shivering for probably 2 hours. I skipped getting dinner because they were closing pretty soon, and I just was too cold. I was like, I'm too weird. I had talked on the phone with my fiance, and I could tell that my speech was slurred. My brain had slowed down. I was too cold, which, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's some level of hypothermia. But I was struggling to get words out, and my speech was slow, and I was just having to concentrate so much to speak correctly. It was honestly like a little bit concerning. So I warmed up, I shivered for about 2 hours. I drank coffee and just put like 4 creamers in it because I wanted any level of sustenance, because I was colder than I was hungry, but I was very hungry at that point as well. And yeah, but Lanesboro is a beautiful little town. I definitely intend to come here on a day and spend like a whole day here and get some more daytime footage here, because it is just really, really lovely. But thanks for coming along. Sorry that half of this was about the other absolute failure of a trip, but I hope you've enjoyed this, and I know I have. It's nice to redeem myself at least a little bit. So cool. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.